Could we see a blockbuster deal between the Toronto Maple Leafs and New York Rangers? One of the NHL insiders has kind of stirred the pot a little bit on a scenario he sees maybe possibly unfolding between the two clubs. Plus, we got a big update on Vegas Golden Knights and Robin Lehner. Big scenario there unfolding with his situation, why he didn't report to training camp. Plus, some updates on the Los Angeles Kings. Patrick Laine injured in Montreal's preseason game tonight, and all kinds of players on waivers. All that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots of news to talk about tonight. Let's start with the waiver wire. As I mentioned in the last couple of days, the waiver wire is going to pick up substantially here in the next little while. It's already getting to that point, but it's going to continue for the next probably week to 10 days as teams make cuts throughout training camp and want to send players down to their minor league affiliates. Once they get a certain amount of experience, waivers are required, and you get a lot of players that unfortunately fall into this category. So yesterday we went through a bunch of players that were on waivers. Everybody cleared, so nobody was picked up by other NHL teams. Today, the waiver wire list includes players from Calgary, Jonathan Aspero and Clark Bishop. Avalanche have Kevin Mandolese and Jake Middleton. Predators have Jake Lucchini and Kevin Gravel and Angelo. The New York Islanders, Tice Thompson. In Seattle, Max Lajoie. Utah, Igor Sokolov. Vegas has Gregory Denisenko, Cal Burke. They also have Gertson, Hag, Mayo, and Morelli. And Washington has Chase Prisky, Sutter, Frank, and Haman Extel. So all kinds of players on waivers. I don't think we're going to see anybody be claimed. You never know, but unlikely at this stage of the preseason. Pretty good chance that everybody possibly clears, but we'll find that out tomorrow, and I expect to be more players again on waivers tomorrow. Teams also try to be strategic about when they make their cuts to see if they can sneak players through sometimes. So we will see. And some of the more, if you look at that list of players, guys like, Sokolov, Lucchini, they were certainly hoping for a better fate. Most of the other guys were not overly surprising. Patrick Laine, Montreal's new acquisition from the offseason, hoping to be a major offensive igniter, if you will, to help take this team up a level, has looked to be injured tonight against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it looks like it has possibility of being pretty serious. He was unfortunately caught in a knee-on-knee collision against the Leafs and one of their young prospects, and he went down in a heap of pain, had to be helped off. And I just hope, based on everything and how it looked, I have to think maybe an ACL. I hope it's not, because if it is, that's bad news. Patrick Laine, even just yesterday, I seen there was his comments after being on the ice was that he was a little bit frustrated with himself and that wasn't playing as well in some of the drills and early part of the preseason here so far. Says he sets a high standard for himself. He's very hard on himself and just, was confident he'd find his game and his confidence would build, but just was a little frustrated with how things had gone so far. Nothing to do with the team or the coaching staff or anything, just in his execution. Just, like I said, being hard on himself, so to speak. And now we have this. The Habs also had lost David Reinbacher earlier in the same period to an injury as well. So, unfortunately, not a good night for Montreal Canadiens. Players that are supposed to play big roles this year. Reinbacher may not be in Montreal. Maybe he's in the minors, but still, he's a very important piece of the future. And certainly you want to have him have a big year, regardless if it's in Laval or Montreal. You want to see huge progress there. And, last year they had Kirby Dach go down. It was a couple of games into the regular season. You have to wonder, and you have to have the question, is there too many preseason games? Now, I understand watching preseason games from the coaching and management perspective of different NHL clubs is important in making your decisions and your cuts, not only seeing how these players, how they do in drills and scrimmages internally, but how they stack up against, competition elsewise. And I get you need to see some of that, but you're seeing too many injuries. Look at Drew Doughty the other night. Now you have Patrick Laine. It's just not good. Not good at all. So we'll hope the best for Laine, but it did not look good. at all. Speaking of the Kings and Drew Doughty, there's a lot of reports today kind of speculating on how the Kings are going to react now that they know that Drew Doughty is going to be gone likely for the first couple months of the season. As I mentioned, they were already in the market for a fourth-line center, which, I think they have internal options there. I was a little surprised to hear that, but if they don't have the confidence that, Akil Thomas or Alex Turcotte is that player and they'd rather play them as wingers, then obviously I kind of get that. Obviously, in the case of LA, you lost Matt Roy to free agency. Now Doughty's gone for a couple months. That's your top 2 right shot defensemen from last season. You're already getting away from the 1-3-1 system, which allowed you great defensive success, and now you're down a lot on the blue line. Goaltending, you have to make an argument, did not get better. If anything, it was lateral move. Maybe you got worse. I don't know. It's largely going to depend on how Darcy Kemper plays. Darcy Kemper has been kind of an up-and-down goaltender. Obviously struggled in Washington or he wouldn't have been available. Hard to say how that goes, but, will they dip into the free agent market? Will they dip into the trade market? I know looking at the free agent market, you're looking at guys like Shattenkirk or Justin Schultz. They still have not signed. Tyson Barrie has not signed, but is likely expected to sign with the Flames. He's there in a PTO now. Could they make a trade because they've been in the rumor mill for a bottom 6 center? I know a team like Toronto has some options, but because there's been a lot of talk about David Kampf or Timothy Liljegren or Connor Timmins, so there might be some options there. A lot of other teams are not quite to that point where they need to shed, or they're not quite clear who the players that are going to be available are going to be just yet. So hard to say what the Kings do, but they have some big decisions to make on that blue line. Now in Vegas, and we know that there's been some talk about Robin Lehner not showing up to training camp, and will Vegas terminate his contract? Now we had a statement that Lehner had given to Elliot Friedman a day or two after those reports came out, and all he said was that everybody knew why, but that he wasn't going to comment as to why. Well, we might have a better idea now. A new article today clarifying what's going on with Robin Lehner, that a federal bankruptcy judge has frozen his assets after lawyers, because now in case you don't know, he's going through a bankruptcy case right now, and he owes a lot of money. He and his wife owe millions of dollars. So, that's, you're obviously go through and you're heavily scrutinized by the courts in these cases. One of the largest creditors in his case had expressed some really, pretty severe concerns. So because of that, the judge had frozen his assets. So now those concerns essentially is what they're referring to as frivolous spending and improper fund transfers. So this creditor is basically worried that they're not going to get paid because apparently the Lehners have been transferring money from their account to non-creditors, which have apparent ties to Dubai. I'm not sure how that, kind of connects everything there. But anyways, clearly he's sending money elsewhere that they are concerned they're not going to be able to get. Obviously there's a lot of different tax havens around the world and places where you can hide money and things like that. I don't know if there's anything fishy going on with the activity or not, but it sure sounds like his creditors are concerned that it is, and they're, therefore, expressing concerns to the court, and the judge and his assets are now frozen. So I don't know to what level can he access anything. Certainly makes things complicated to live when a judge in a court has frozen everything you own. So it certainly might explain why going to training camp for a physical might not have been real high up on his list of priorities. So obviously I would hope with everything going on that they are not going to try to terminate his contract. We've since seen a statement from Vegas saying that Robin Lehner would not be reporting to the Vegas Golden Knights, would not be playing this year, but will they pursue any other action against him? We haven't heard anything, but this is, quite a concerning thing. I know Robin Lehner has gone through a lot over the years. He's been a big advocate for mental health, helped a lot of people, to be honest. It's a shame to see him going through this because as much as I know he's had his vices over the years and he's had his issues, I know deep down there appears to be a real good person in there that can help people. but he's gone through a lot of his own struggles, and I just hope that he can get his life in order and be okay, and hopefully, after earning so much money over the course of his NHL career, be able to live a decent lifestyle and not be, bankrupt and broke. It's just such a shame when you hear of athletes making all these millions and having nothing to show for it. And not only that, but at a fairly young age too. So unfortunate set of circumstances there around Robin Lehner. I just hope that he's okay, and I hope he can get things on track. I really do. But unfortunately, with his NHL career likely being over, for a lot of these guys, that's why you can't complain about them trying to get as much money as they can. Their ability to earn the big money is a small period of time. They'll never probably have another job where they can earn millions of bucks like this. So you got to remember, you have a lot of years ahead of you. And when you don't have a clear path sometimes to what you're going to do next, it can be challenging. So, players should make as much as they can every time. It's just that simple. Now, on a more different note here, Pierre LeBrun of TSN and The Athletic kind of stirred the pot a little bit on Friday, suggesting we might see a blockbuster deal between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the New York Rangers. Now, you probably saw from the thumbnail, you know what I'm referring to here. Essentially, you get two players, one in each market, that's a big-time player, expecting, and if they're going to stay, a mega contract extension, and both teams might have a little bit of reluctancy to make that happen. You've also got both teams that, didn't meet expectations last year, and if they don't meet expectations this year or are not trending towards doing that, you have to think that they might want to make a major splash. We know Igor Shesterkin's rumored to be looking for about $12 million over 8 years. We know the Toronto Maple Leafs have had difficulties having the goaltending position be, really stable. Now, we'll see how things go this year. Obviously, they have some guys that are talented with Wall and Stolarz, but they also both have a history of being hurt a lot. So, again, time will tell. They also, neither one of them have a history of playing a big workload. So, there's some concerns there. In Marner's case, it's been more about, the stress getting to him and the pressure at the key times. He's been a great regular season performer. And even in the playoffs, it's not like it's complete bust. He does have okay playoff stats. Like, it's not that they're that horrible. But, the biggest games is when he hasn't come up big for the Maple Leafs. And he hasn't been able to push through at those opportune times. So there's obviously a lot of speculation over the course of this past summer that he was going to get moved. It never happened. Could he stay? Maybe. Could a contract extension be worked out? Yeah, it's possible. I can see them trending in that direction, especially with the Tavares contract coming off the books. Will Tavares stay? If he does, how much less money is he going to have to take? That's another story on its own. But, if you get to a scenario what LeBrun's hitting at here, later into the season or at the end of the season before, you get to it, this is not anything that he's saying would happen anytime soon. But if you get to a point this year where it's obvious that neither player is going to get their contract, and if these teams don't live up to their expectations and it doesn't look like anything's going to change, I would say the deadline would be the earliest, but even then, not likely. It'd be more likely after the season before we get to that UFA point. So, probably like sometime in May or around the draft or something of that nature would be something like this could maybe go down. Both teams, if they don't have their expectations met this year, these players are in limbo. They don't want to lose them for nothing. Could you do like a sign and trade where you swap these guys? That's kind of what he's getting at here with the Mitch Marner for Igor Shesterkin trade. The Rangers get a major shakeup in their forward group with a very dynamic offensive player. The Leafs get the goaltender that they haven't had in a long time, and obviously it will completely change their core 4, core 5, whatever you want to call it. Does the deal make sense? To some extent it does. Now, does the Rangers want to trade Shesterkin? Absolutely not. Do the Leafs want to trade Marner? I think maybe, but they're not, I don't think, completely sold on that. But I think the Leafs coming to terms to trade Marner is going to be a much more likely scenario than the Rangers trading Shesterkin. I don't think that it's something they really want to do. The Rangers have been absolutely blessed with goaltending at a high level, elite level for a long time. You had all those years of Henrik Lundqvist, and you go right into Igor Shesterkin, and then what happens next? They don't have that guy waiting in the wings right now to take over for him. So it's a completely different scenario. If they don't want to pay him his $12 million and he does move on, then what? It's a different, that goaltending position is so much more important than the others. That, not to say that Marner's not important to Toronto, he absolutely is, but they would have an easier time, I think, figuring things out than the Rangers would. So, obviously, two big-time players looking for big-time money on two big-time markets that haven't met expectations, and if they don't meet those expectations this year and those contract extensions are not done, doesn't make sense for a swap. Let me know what you think. This is strictly hypothetical. I don't think LeBrun's going on any inside intel here. Like I said, I took this as Jim just kind of stirring the pot to get people talking. Just an area, like a idea he had in his head of something that kind of makes sense to him. Could it work out? When you see these kind of scenarios unfolding in different markets, you have to wonder, maybe that's how they solve them, right? I mean, is it perfect? No. Is it likely? Not right now. But like I said, I can see a scenario unfolding where if these two teams don't have great years, or they have early playoff exits or what have you, that it could lead to that. So let me know. Mitchie for Igor. Does it make any sense to you? Let me know in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.